From the isolation of Galilee's shores to the brutal arena of the Coliseum, where men, women, and children waited to witness the spectacle of agony, John faced his greatest challenge. Condemned to a cruel fate, thrown into a cauldron of boiling oil, he defied the laws of nature and transformed adversity into an unforgettable miracle. But the test of his faith did not stop there. Exiled to the isolated island of Patmos, where the soft shadows of the days turned into enigmatic visions and eternal prophecies, he dared to write the destiny of the world. This is an account of courage amid despair, of light that shatters the densest darkness, and of a spirit that did not bow before tyranny. In every sigh, every tear, and every battle, John unveiled the true transformative power of faith. Come discover the moments that changed not only his life, but the history of all humanity, an epic of challenges, overcoming, and miracles that echo through the ages. On a day when the heavens seemed to carry omens of change, John encountered Jesus of Nazareth. From that meeting, the man abandoned his nets and irrevocably committed himself to a journey of faith that would lead him to experience miracles and terrors beyond imagination. In his early years with the Master, the apostle distinguished himself, not only by his loyalty, but also by his passionate temperament and an intensity that, in unison with his soul, radiated determination and profound love. On several occasions, alongside the other disciples, John witnessed events that defied the limits of human understanding. He saw the resurrection of Jairus' daughter, contemplated the magnificence of the Transfiguration, and delighted in the intimate gesture during the Last Supper, where with reverence he pressed his face against Jesus' chest, demonstrating absolute trust and a singular bond. Throughout the Savior's ministry, John's life was shaped by experiences of love, sacrifice, and also pain. When the man for whom he held unwavering devotion was betrayed and consigned to the agony of the cross, the apostle did not flee, even in the face of fear and despair. Remaining by Jesus' side, he absorbed the essence of divine teaching, understanding that every tear, every painful sigh resonated in the grand plan of redemption. It was in this moment of intense human fragility that Jesus, in a moving gesture, entrusted John with the responsibility of caring for his beloved mother, Mary, a lasting symbol that love and duty transcend even the barriers of death. With the resurrection and ascension of the Son of the Most High, the world faced a spiritual rebirth spreading throughout the Roman Empire. The flame of the Christian faith, nurtured by the teachings of our apostle, illuminated even the darkest corners of earthly power. John, with his eloquence and courage, led the proclamation of a message that spoke of forgiveness, resilience, and the sublimity of God's love. However, the expansion of this movement, which in its simplicity won the hearts of many, angered the rulers of the empire, who saw in this new faith a challenge to their absolute authority. Emperor Domitian, an implacable man devoted to the exaltation of his own power, soon regarded Christianity as a subversive threat. In an era marked by the imposition of rituals venerating the emperor, those who refused to worship the sovereign were branded traitors and harbingers of a silent revolution. John, already fully aware of his mission and bearing the marks of his journey, became the target of these onslaughts. His words, which once exuded the hope of the heavens, now met with scorn and persecution by a regime that perceived faith as an insurgent flame. Amidst these turbulences, the apostles' unwavering courage shone through. Accused of heresy and subversion, John was captured in Rome, a city where power and decadence intermingled in a frightening manner. In a tribunal with hardened faces and hasty judgments, the man who had embraced supreme love found himself facing a sentence designed not only to silence his voice, but to extinguish the very spirit of faith. This sentence, decreed with cold detachment and mercilessness, ordered that John be thrown into a cauldron of boiling oil, a cruel method of execution meant to frighten all who might dare defy the empire. The day of the execution arrived in a setting that seemed orchestrated for a macabre spectacle. In the heart of the Coliseum, the vast amphitheater vibrated with an almost palpable tension. The stands were packed, men, women, and children driven by a mixture of fascination and horror, gathered to witness the tragic conclusion of a story many found inconceivable. Rumor had it that the oil in the cauldron was already boiling violently, releasing an odor that foretold impending suffering. As the guards, their expressions tense and sweat beading on their foreheads, led John to the center of the arena, the silence among the spectators mingled with murmurs of anticipation and fear. Each step of the apostle was deliberate, yet carried the weight of a destiny sealed by divine hands. John's gaze, serene and resolute, fixed upon the horizon, as if he were aware that his soul would rest safely in the Creator's embrace, regardless of what his body might endure. Upon reaching the center of the Coliseum, a sense of desolation gripped the hearts of those present, who braced themselves to hear the agonized screams that would mark the end of John's earthly journey. But at the very moment when the executioners, under orders from the empire's officials, pushed the apostle into the gigantic cauldron, an extraordinary event swept through the entire arena. The oil, boiling furiously and its surface resembling a ceaselessly churning sea, should have consumed John in an instant. Yet, before the incredulous eyes of the crowd, the apostle remained standing, unshaken, as if enveloped in an aura of divine protection. Every flame that danced around did not inflict the slightest spark of pain on his face, which remained serene and introspective. The scene was so contrary to the onlookers' expectations that the tension-filled silence turned into one of utter perplexity. Murmurs gave way to exclamations of surprise, and soon shouts rang out in unison, "It is a sign from the Most High." The miraculous evidence displayed before thousands in that arena triggered a radical transformation in the atmosphere. Where once there had been the promise of extreme pain, now there arose the certainty that God's power could transcend the physical laws of the world. In a moment of pure revelation, the oil that was meant to subdue the apostle became the stage for a supreme manifestation of divine grace. Domitian, who until then had reveled in destructive anticipation, received the news with astonishment and dread. The fact that John had defied the logic of men and overcome the foretold death sent a wave of unrest through the highest circles of power. Fearing the spread of this example of spiritual resistance, the emperor ordered the apostle to be exiled to the island of Patmos, a remote location destined to serve as a spiritual prison where discordant voices supposedly could not incite the masses. Yet even in confinement, John refused to be imprisoned by fate. In the solitude of Patmos, where the sea met rugged cliffs and time seemed immovable, he experienced moments of intense contemplation. There, amid shadows and the ceaseless sound of waves, the apostle received revelations meant to endure through all ages. In visions interwoven with enigmatic symbols, intense prophecies and images that defied human understanding, John glimpsed the Creator's designs for humanity. Among the texts that would later form what we call the Apocalypse, echoed the reminder that all things work for the good of those who love God, Romans 8:28, a message which, in the harshness of exile, served as an anchor for his unshakable faith. In reflecting on every moment he had lived, John understood that the challenges he faced, from the simplicity of his youth to the impossible trials in the Coliseum, were tools used to shape a soul destined to inspire generations. In his imposed solitude, the apostle came to believe that pain and hope intertwine to reveal the hidden beauty within adversity. This understanding, gained through experience and deep meditation on the Messiah's teachings, drove him to redeem his moments of silence and compose a legacy that would transcend time. While the emperor sought to stifle John's influence with drastic measures, the message of his survival and divine intervention spread like a whisper that soon became a clarion call for freedom. Believers who heard these accounts found the strength to face their own cauldrons, be they financial hardships, interpersonal conflicts, or health crises, as they realized that if the apostle was spared a cruel fate, there were also reasons to trust in the power of a God who never abandons his children. The reassurance emanating from the sacred texts, such as the promise found in Hebrews 13:5, "I will never leave you nor forsake you," took on new meaning in John's vibrant narrative. In those dark and profoundly reflective hours, exile revealed itself not merely as a punishment, but as the fertile ground upon which his truth blossomed. In his visions, the apostle saw the redemption of the suffering and the reconciliation between human fragility and the eternal love of the Creator. Every symbol, every mystery revealed in his writings awakened in the hearts of his readers the awareness that challenges are often precursors to new hopes and opportunities for rebirth. The impact of his journey was so deep that even thousands of years later, the legend of John echoed in songs, poems, and sermons. Accounts of his courage were not confined to the pages of ancient manuscripts, but held a special place in communities gathering to celebrate renewed faith. The remembrance of that fateful day in the Coliseum, when the boiling oil could not consume him, was recounted with emotion and reverence, as if the very miracle had become the ultimate symbol that no earthly power can extinguish the flame of truth. Within the confines of the Coliseum, amid the echoes of restrained applause and sighs of admiration, grew the idea that the divine presence manifests even in moments when hope seems to fade. The memory of that event, carefully preserved and handed down through generations, served as a constant reminder that true faith, when nurtured with love and dedication, is capable of transforming reality itself. Amid pain and light alike, John became the emblem of a rebirth made possible through trust in something greater than human existence. During his exile on the isolated island of Patmos, the apostle continued to write with fervor the words that filled scrolls which would later be read with reverence by believers across many nations. Every line, every verse was an invitation to all people, from every era, to understand that adversity is the door through which divine light enters our being. In his writings resonated the conviction that even when days grew dark, truth and justice would remain unshaken, as sharp as blades against the blows of injustice. John's story, which from his humble youth remained faithful to a blessed mission, thus took on epic proportions. He not only witnessed the miracles and lessons of love from the Savior, but clung to the certainty that his destiny was intertwined with the divine plan. When he was thrown into the boiling oil, his unperturbed demeanor and the inexplicable protection that surrounded him led many to see him as the very symbol of resistance and faith. Contrary to what others expected, the apostle was not overcome by physical suffering. His soul, ignited by the conviction that God is greater than all adversities, emerged pure and transformed. The narrative reverberated throughout the vast Roman Empire, and the account of John's deeds spread to even the most distant provinces. Those longing for answers found in the apostle's story not only the solace of unwavering faith, but also the motivation to face their own battles. The association between his miraculous survival in the Coliseum and the metaphor of rejuvenation found in ancient sacred texts made every spoken word an invitation for every heart to open to the possibility of spiritual rebirth. And so, even after being exiled to the island of Patmos, John did not remain silent. His voice, immortalized through his writings and the songs chanted in city squares, echoed as a call for all who suffered to find in the experiences of pain the root of a radiant hope. In long nights and days filled with meditation, the apostle came to understand that reality is made not solely of light and shadow, but of the balance between suffering and glory, between loss and redemption. The legacy left by John is written in the ink of courage and conviction. In every paragraph of the scrolls he composed lies a message inviting reflection. That amid everyday challenges, whether invisible or as dramatic as a cauldron on fire, we remember that active faith and sincere love are weapons capable of transforming our destinies. In moments of anguish, when our lives resemble a battlefield, the remembrance of that astonishing survival kindles within us the certainty that divine power never runs dry. Infused with the wisdom of sacred texts, John's journey shows that faith is not a mere theoretical concept, but a transformative force manifesting in the most surprising acts of daily life. If we look back at ancient accounts and realize that where many saw only despair, the apostle found the key to salvation, we understand that his story is, above all, an invitation for every human being to reconcile with their pain and open themselves to the possibility of a personal miracle. What for some might have been the end, exile, transformed into a sacred stage where John received visions that would change the future of humanity, giving rise to the book of Revelation. This work, filled with symbols and promises, transcends the mere historical record and is inscribed in eternity as proof that even when the body is scorched by flames, faith can save and transform the darkest destinies. Thus, when the memory of John's miracle awakens within you, may you feel the pulse of a renewed hope, one capable of overcoming the struggles of everyday life. For every narrated word, every preserved memory of that glorious journey reveals that the impossible becomes possible when one surrenders their heart to the divine will, and that even amid life's trials, the certainty that I will never leave you nor forsake you, Hebrews 13:5, remains the beacon guiding our steps. May every remembrance of this miracle, from the simple days in Galilee to the epic confrontation in the Coliseum, inspire you to believe that the love and protection of the Creator extend to everyone who, with courage, faces the challenges of existence. In every moment of doubt, when it seems as though the fire of adversity consumes all around you, remember John, the one who, even in the face of a raging cauldron, remained unscathed and serene, a living testimony that divine grace overcomes the barriers of the earthly world. With the words of ancient prophets and the strength of an unassailable legacy, the story of this apostle becomes an eternal call for spiritual renewal. May the vision of John, immortalized in the memories of those who witnessed him, transform into a daily invitation for you on your own journey to find the strength to face risks and, through faith, transmute pain into sacred opportunities for growth. John's narrative transcends a mere chronicle of events and becomes a life lesson, a confirmation that even when destiny seems to seal our condemnation, faith, like an invisible shield, opens paths for miracles and transforms the impossible into a living promise. And so, as you look to the past and absorb the wisdom contained in every word, remember that each one of our journeys is intertwined with the divine, and in every spark of hope lies the possibility of a new dawn. May this story be etched in your memory as a beacon, guiding you through moments of uncertainty and inspiring you to embrace the trust needed to overcome life's imposed barriers. For in the end, John's journey teaches us that true victory does not reside in the absence of suffering, but in the ability to transform it into a testament of the light dwelling within each human being, reaffirming the eternity of grace and love that never fades. And so indelibly, the account of the apostle who defied the laws of nature remains alive, not merely as a record of what transpired in the Coliseum, but as proof that faith is the ultimate, most powerful instrument of transformation. May every word of this testimony resonate in our hearts and spur us to fight with courage and hope along the paths leading to redemption and eternity. In seeking refuge in the lessons of days gone by, always remember, even when the oil of adversity seems poised to consume you, it is in the flame of faith that the path to light and transformation is revealed. In every heartbeat and every courageous breath, John's story is reaffirmed, an eternal landmark that invites each of us to transform our greatest fears into testimonies of God's glorious protection. And so we come to the end of this extraordinary journey, where every challenge overcome by John reminds us faith can transform pain into triumph and illuminate the darkest corners of our lives. If this story has touched your heart and inspired you to face life's cauldrons with courage and hope, do not hesitate to join us in this community of light seekers. Subscribe to the channel, like, and share this video so that more souls may be reached by the transformative power of faith. Thank you for watching, and until next time.